have you ever thought like how do I make my king safe? This is where castling comes into place. Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to continue my chess series. Today I will be showing you what castling is. So, have you ever thought like when the king is still in the e file, like it's a bit unsafe? And have you ever thought like how do I make my king safe? This is where castling comes into place. Castling is where like interchange the places of your king and your rook in a little way. So if castling wasn't there, it would take a bunch of moves like this, this, like king f1, then g4, king g2, rook f1, king g1, like that. It would take a lot of moves and it would still be unsafe. So instead, I'll be showing you what castling is. So let's start. So I'll just set up a random position. How do you do castling? Castling is when you move your king 2 squares. This is the only time when you can move your king 2 squares instead of 1. And your rook jumps over your king to the f1 square. As you can see here. This is castling. So in annotations they say as 0, 0. So you might be thinking, Pranith, can you do castling every time, like whenever you want? No, you can't. Because there are restrictions in castling. Before I show you the restrictions, you might think this is the only way, but no, there is other ways. I'll show you. So I'll set up one more random position. Now there is one more way to castle. So you just learned kingside castling. Now I'll show you another way to castle, which is queenside castling. So you move your king 2 squares like in kingside, but now you're like there is more. That time like the king and the rook were only 3 places away, but now there are 4. So the rook moved 2 places last time. So you can't just land on the king, right? Yes, you're absolutely right. So in this, the rook goes 3 squares, as you can see. This is queenside castling. Now you might ask me a question, which is better? Well, I can't exactly explain to you which is better. They both are good in their own ways. When you want to, I can tell you one thing. Whichever side your opponent castles, you should castle the other side. Now, then you can start a pawn storm. I will teach you pawn storms and all in the later videos. So now, I will show you the restrictions of castling. And just so you know, it applies for both sides. It won't apply for one side. So look, this is one of the restrictions. Suppose your opponent gave a check like this and you capture it. You can't then just go back and then when he does something, then you're not allowed to castle. You're not allowed to castle once the king already moves. Instead, there is another better option you can do here. You can instead do manual castling. What is manual castling? Well, manual castling in this position, you can just move your rook to f1 directly and then you can move the king to g1. This is manual castling. So when the king is already moved, you can just do this instead. And it looks exactly like the castling. The only problem is it's a little unsafe in this diagonal. So if there is a bishop, you have to watch out. That is why some expert players, once they castle, they immediately move their king so that these attacks won't be as harmful. So this is one of the restrictions. I'll show you one more restriction. This is one more restriction. You can't just move your rook and then castle. That won't work either. So what you've learned so far is if you already have moved your king or rook, you can't castle. That's what you've learned so far. I'll show you some more restrictions. Whenever a piece like a bishop is blocking the square, so the king is gonna go here. When the bishop is blocking, you can't just castle. Even if it's blocking this, you can't castle. That is one more rule. Any piece, even a knight. So if you continue like this, and then you force the bishop out, so then imagine if he moves his knight here when your bishop is not there. So now also you can't castle because the knight, as you know, goes in a L direction. It is here. So even now you can't castle. So that is all for today's video. I hope you learned something new. Take care. Bye bye.